Nicole Clark, it is wonderful to have you with us today for the Trellis product briefing. Thank you for joining.
So
Before
excited to be
we,
here.
oh, it's great to have you here. Before we jump into the demo, just a couple of questions about yourself as a founder. Can you tell us a little bit about what the impetus was for you to start a company like Trellis?
Absolutely. So I practiced as a labor and employment attorney, which is heavily litigated across the state trial courts. And one night I was writing a motion for summary judgment and I was complaining to a colleague. And we actually found that there was a ruling by my judge on my exact issue. And I used that. I wrote the motion in half the time. I won. And for me, that was the light bulb of how is it possible that this data exists? And as a litigator, I didn't have access to it, that the industry doesn't have access to insights at the state trial court level. And so that's really what we started doing. We started pulling in data from individual county courts that I was appearing in. And then I used that in practice for a number of years, and it changed my motion practice so dramatically that it really gave me the courage to actually jump and launch Trellis and bring it to other users.
Fantastic. I love that you used it yourself and proved the value as a lawyer yourself before launching the company.
Customer number one.
Yeah, exactly. What problem specifically does Trellis set out to solve?
So what we do is we make a single searchable database for the state trial court system. So right now, anyone who has tried to access state trial court information knows that you have to go to individual county court websites. There are thousands of individual county court websites across the nation, and they're very difficult to navigate. They aren't searchable by anything other than a case number. And so what we do is we go into each county, we aggregate the data, we structure it, we normalize it across counties, and then we make it searchable from a single interface. So the ability to search the United States trial courts from a single sort of Google-like interface.
And I imagine that must mean that people have all kinds of use cases for it, reasons to come to Trellis.
Absolutely. From individual solo attorneys that use us, we have over 150 million searchable file documents. So utilizing us as a brief bank, all the way to your large AM100s, which use us for a lot of analytics. Because we've aggregated and structured this data, we're able to surface insights on top of the data with analytics as well. So wide variety of uses across different industry types.
Fantastic. Well, Nicole, let's jump in and see how it all works.
Absolutely. So this is what I was talking about, the sort of Google-like nature of the site. This search bar is going to search across the state trial court system. If I wanted to search across all of the states, I'd select all. But when I'm searching in a particular state, what I'm searching is across the state trial courts in that state. Now, you can search by anything. You can search by judge, by legal issue, by motion type, or combinations of those, which are my favorite. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to search a judge. This is a Los Angeles Superior Court judge. No matter what you're searching in the Smart Search, you are always searching for buckets of data. So rulings, dockets, documents, and verdicts. If I searched a particular motion type, I'm doing the same thing. And what you'll find on our pages is basically what you'd find on a county court website in terms of a docket. You're going to find all of the docket information, but you're also going to find it enhanced with a lot of additional information. The parties are now searchable. So if I wanted to find a particular law firm and see everywhere else that they're litigating, in this case, across California, since it's where we're searching, I click on them and now I'm searching for their cases. Next are going to be the documents filed in this particular case. And then below that, lots of documents in this one, is going to be the actual docket entries themselves. So think of it as really just a single interface to be able to track cases across. And then the other thing is, let's jump into a document for a moment. How about jump into a minute order? Oh, we are in Los Angeles Superior Court. Note there is we actually include Los Angeles Superior Court documents with the subscription. These are $1 to $2 a page, so huge value to our users. But let's look at a document page for a second. I will
So while you're doing that, how widespread is the data? Do you cover all states?
We don't cover all states. We're in almost 30 states right now and over 1,000 counties. So it is a very, all of your high volume, high value litigation counties were covered first, and now we're continuing across the nation. But we have by far the largest database of state trial court data that is out there and are continuing to collect. And with that note, let's talk about a document page for a second. The amazing thing about the documents page is you can scroll through to see if it's useful, to see if it is on point. Do you care? Do you want to download the document? And then let's say this is a document in a case that this is great, but it's not the document you wanted. Well, at any time you see a docket number, you click on the docket and it takes you back to the docket of this case where you can jump into any of the other documents that were filed.
So the data is all interconnected.
It is all interconnected. All of whether you're in Dallas or you're in New York, the interface looks the same. All of the information is going to be the same on the page, and you can jump through. You can also track cases. So let's say this is a case that you're handling and you want to get notified if anything changes in the case. We function like Google Alerts. You're going to get an email whenever anything changes in the docket. You can also track new cases that way. So this would be marketing and business development, heavy use cases where you represent a corporation and you want to be first to notify them when there's new cases filed against them. That is another very common use case on our site as well. And then finally, I'll jump in and show some analytics. There are so many different aspects I could show, whether we look up opposing counsel or we use it as a brief bank. But I'll just jump into analytics for a second. So right now I'm on one of our analytics dashboards for state trial court judges. We go in and we do a deep dive. So biography is going to be all of the subjective information about the judge, career history, political affiliation. The at a glance is the high level, how many cases, how long do cases take? And then the motions is actually a deep dive, granular. How do they rule on very important pretrial motions? So it's a way to understand your judge from the very start of the case, make important decisions about which motions are likely to be successful, and really just be strategic in litigation strategy that is very common. We also, I'll just do a quick plug, we also just released our court comparison analytics. This is brand new. What we do is we go in county by county and actually compare the counties against each other. How long do certain motions take? What's the likelihood of getting a motion granted in that county? So similar to judge, but it's going to be for venue comparisons, for setting expectations in the venue rather than by the judge.
Interesting. So I can very much see that you would have potentially librarians and researchers in here doing legal research across state courts, but then also litigators and lawyers and probably corporate legal departments as well, looking at strategic analysis for their cases.
That is absolutely right. You can combine any combination. So if I wanted to pick on Uber and cases where they're trying to push something into arbitration, and now we're running that same search where we can jump into various cases. So almost think about the different ways you can be strategic in finding information, whether it's about experts or motions in limine, or there's so many things throughout the lifespan of a case that are never going to get appealed. So they're never going to make it onto Lexis or Westlaw to understand what actually happens in the state trial court system. So that's really where we focus. What's happening on the ground in the state trial courts, and being able to be practical in the way you think about doing research.
That's terrific. Thank you so much, Nicole. This is, as you say, the broadest collection of this type of information in one place, easily searchable, a really powerful tool. Thank you for appearing on the product briefing. For anyone listening who would like to know more, we will add a URL at the bottom of this video so that you can reach out and contact Trellis. Nicole, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. Great being here.